I will demo one. If you want to watch, I'll tie another one, and we'll do it step by step and see how this works. If I can find the lead I just broke off. There it is.
Yeah, I need it.
I need to hackle with you.
Okay. I'm going to put some lead on. I don't know, I don't count. Depends on the size of hook I'm using. I want to have about 10 or 12 wraps of lead. Break that off, and I'm going to get the tag ends taken care of. I'm too cheap to cut that stuff off. And then, if you'll notice, after you've wrapped lead for a while, you can put enough pressure on it that it'll be on there pretty tight. But if you're still wrapping kind of loose and the lead's wanting to move back and forth on you, if you will grab the back end of that lead, grab the front end, and just twist that, it will tighten up those lead wraps so that they aren't loose on you. And I've got that kind of in the middle, but when you tie that lead down, it's going to move toward the eye of the hook a little bit. So keep that in mind where you place the lead. I'm going to start some wraps back at the bend. Going to wrap forward up to my lead. Once I get in the lead, it'll just wrap automatically. I'm going to continue that thread base up about 2 eye lengths back behind the lead. Going to fill that up a little bit so I won't have such a big drop off right there. And then I'm going to go over, and I'm going to end up right at the bend with my thread, and I'm going to get rid of the tag end. Okay. Now, this pattern calls for one of two materials for the tag. This stuff I have here, we have some of that, but it's polypropylene. We've got it, polypropylene yarn it's called. We've got it in different colors, but because this material will not soak up water, it's going to make the fly a little bit more buoyant. So I have chosen instead to use this sparkle yarn, and a little piece of this will go a long way. I'm going to lay that sparkle yarn just about where the lead is starting. I'm going to cinch that in, and I'm going to end up with a long tag end. This is the easy way to get the height is you want to leave, you don't want a whole lot. You just want flash at the back. And this stuff will pick up a little bit of weight. It'll soak up a little bit. But there is your, that didn't cut very clean. I'm going to clean that up a little bit. That is your tag. Now we're going to be wrapping a couple of materials forward. Who remembers the rule? What's the first thing you tie in?
The last wrap.
The last thing you're going to wrap, right? So the last thing we're going to wrap is some hackle. Now this is a size 10 hook. Look at the hackle you have, because you want that hackle to be about the width of the gap above and beyond where you tie it. So you can see I've bent that, and that's going to be pretty close. I'm going to have about as much above the hook shaft as I have below it. And I'm going to tie that on right at the bend, and I'm going to leave a little bit of that stem that I plucked, because when I start wrapping, that helps that wrap stand up straight. Get rid of my extra stem right there. Okay. And I'm going to make sure I've got that attached, because it's really frustrating when you start wrapping that if it comes loose. Then you got to cut some stuff off and start all over again. I like to, on my chenille, I am going to pluck a little bit of that fuzz off, so you see the strands I have left, and I'm going to tie that in same place I tied in my hackle. And if you have trouble with your thread not wanting to wrap neatly over whatever you're tying in, if you will take your bobbin and twist it counterclockwise, it'll tighten up that thread, and the next wrap will suck in toward the end of the hook. Makes it a lot easier to wrap that stuff. And I'm going to go forward, and I'm going to leave quite a bit of space before I tie off at the front of my hook. Okay. Now the first thing we're going to wrap is the chenille. This is an easy tie. I'm just going to, if you have a rotary vise, it makes it much easier to wrap. Got to keep those wraps nice and tight together. I'm going to go forward, and you got to be careful you don't go too far forward, or else you're going to crowd the eye and you won't have much of a head. Okay? So I'm going to bring that up and over, drop it, up, over, drop it. I'm going to keep pressure on it so it's not going to unravel on me. And then I'm going to cut that off on the top of my hook, and I still have some good space left for tying on the hackle and the eye. Now I may kind of get rid of some of that fuzz right here, and I'm going to half hitch that one more time.
Yes, sir. Oh, you got it back there?
And I left my favorite hackle plier at home, but now I'm ready to wrap that hackle forward. So I'm going to grab my hackle with my hackle plier, and I'm going to, excuse me, I'm just going to wrap that forward. Got some fairly close wraps. If you get it too close, it may cause a problem. So when I get back up to the eye, excuse me, I'm going to tie that off, a couple of wraps, then trim it. And I'm ready to finish the fly by making the head. Now you can see I've got a little bit of hackle that is kind of hanging forward right in here. If you will pull that back with your fingertips and start your wrap, as you've got it folded back, you can keep it out of the way. I've got something that's fuzzy on there. I don't know what it is. Yeah. And I'm going to just tie that off. Whip finish it good. And now I've got a couple little strays here, which I'm going to trim off. And if you want, you can put head cement on here. I don't use head cement on most of the flies that I fish with because I've not had my whip finish not come undone. Rarely do I ever have it come undone. If I want it to look a little prettier, I'll put some head cement on it because it kind of shines it up. But I don't know that the fish can tell the difference. But that is a woolly worm. Okay? On a size, that's on a size 10.